Imagine being the one who discovers the very foundation of modern genetics, only to have your work ignored for years. That was Gregor Mendel's reality. Today, we're diving deep into the untold story of how the father of genetics faced rejection, struggles, and ultimately, triumph. Stay tuned as we uncover the challenges behind one of science's greatest unsung heroes. Gregor Mendel was born in 1822 in what is now the Czech Republic. From humble beginnings in the village of Heinzendorf, Mendel grew up on a small farm, where he developed an early interest in the natural world. But it wasn't just farming that captured his attention. Mendel had a passion for learning and went on to join the Augustinian monastery in Brunn, now Brno, where he became a monk and later a teacher. His time at the monastery shaped his future, both as a religious figure and as a budding scientist. At the monastery, Mendel didn't just focus on his religious duties. He spent a considerable amount of time studying the sciences, particularly the fields of physics and biology, which were uncommon for monks of the era. Mendel's growing fascination with the mechanisms of inheritance would lead him to his monumental experiments years later. In the 1850s, Mendel embarked on a series of groundbreaking experiments that would forever change the way we understand genetics. His subjects? Pea plants. You might be wondering, why peas? Well, Mendel chose peas because they have distinct, easily observable traits, such as color, shape, and size. These traits were perfect for studying inheritance patterns. Over the course of 8 years, Mendel meticulously crossbred thousands of pea plants. He observed how traits like flower color, seed shape, and plant height were inherited from one generation to the next. Mendel's genius lay in his ability to track these traits across generations, and he noticed a pattern that was unlike anything anyone had ever observed before. For example, when crossing a purebred purple-flowered plant with a white-flowered plant, he discovered that all the offspring were purple, a trait he would later identify as dominant. By carefully analyzing his results, Mendel recognized that the traits seemed to follow predictable ratios. He identified 2 key principles that would become known as Mendel's laws of inheritance: the law of segregation and the law of independent assortment. These laws explain how traits are inherited and how genes segregate into gametes. In essence, Mendel had discovered the fundamental principles of genetics. Despite his revolutionary findings, Mendel faced harsh rejection. In 1866, he published his results in the journal Verhandlungen des Naturforschenden Vereines in Brunn, but the scientific community at large completely ignored his work. His ideas about inheritance didn't align with the prevailing scientific theories at the time, and they were dismissed as too abstract or irrelevant. Mendel was ahead of his time. His discoveries, while profound, were not understood by his peers, and they didn't have the statistical foundation that would later be necessary for the field of genetics. Additionally, Mendel's quiet, humble nature may have contributed to his lack of recognition. His work was published in a relatively obscure journal, and few scientists took the time to read it. After his work was dismissed, Mendel continued his duties as an abbot at the monastery, where he oversaw administrative tasks, managed finances, and helped with teaching. His scientific work, while still important to him, became secondary to his role within the church. Despite his growing reputation as a competent administrator, Mendel's scientific ambitions remained unfulfilled. Many years passed without recognition for his genetic work, and Mendel himself likely became disheartened. His later years were marked by solitude and a sense of frustration, as his groundbreaking research remained largely unappreciated. But Mendel didn't stop his experiments. he continued working in the shadows, knowing deep down that he had discovered something extraordinary. Though Mendel's work was ignored in his lifetime, his contributions would later be recognized as some of the most important in science. In the early 1900s, nearly 30 years after Mendel's death, 3 scientists, Hugo de Vries, Karl Correns, and Erich von Tschermak, independently rediscovered Mendel's work. They confirmed his findings, and suddenly, Mendel was heralded as the father of genetics. Today, Mendel's principles of inheritance are at the heart of modern genetics. From genetic engineering to the study of hereditary diseases, his discoveries laid the groundwork for countless breakthroughs in science and medicine. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more insightful biographies of incredible scientists. And share this video with friends who love learning.